Hi, this is Daniel O'Connor from the Warbeck Reuse Network. I'm going to quickly talk about how to get senior buy-in to your reuse program. Okay, we're going to cover a number of techniques which will increase your likelihood of getting approval for your reuse program. We're going to talk about a few basics, but there's some surprises in there as well. What this is all about is giving your committee the evidence that going for your reuse program is a low risk, high reward activity to take. Okay, so that's our aim here. So we're going to talk about the obvious ones first. You're going to pitch about the financial savings that the system's going to bring. You're going to pitch about the time savings and the sustainability savings. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how you might want to do that. But before we do, the most important activity to undertake is start to get visual evidence of wasted resources across your estate. That might be assets in the skip or the dumpster, assets on the loading bay about to be loaded into the dumpster, assets being wasted in storage, getting damp, getting dusty, becoming obsolete, or assets just left around the estate. If you can start to build up a portfolio of evidence of assets being wasted, you're demonstrating to that committee that there's a problem that needs to be fixed and that there's value leaking out of the organisation. That is our top tip for getting buy-in for your senior management. Let's talk a little bit about the basics. So you're going to demonstrate the financial benefits of reuse as well. Now, you might do some ad hoc reuse internally already. So you need to put a value on that, okay? You need to put a value on what you've done already and present that and extrapolate it for what you can extrapolate it for this process or this new project that's going to obviously massively increase participation, hopefully. If you don't have the evidence, you can look at case studies elsewhere. And on Warbeck, you can see at this domain address, you'll see that we have our top 10 performers. So, pick an organisation similar size to yours, similar scenario to yours, which you can use as a case study in this pitch. And this is all about demonstrating to your committee that reuse works, others are doing it, and it's successful and it's low risk. Okay. As well as financial savings, depending on what committee you're talking to, there's going to be some other aspects that they're interested in. So they might be interested in the carbon savings, they might be interested in the environmental savings. Okay, and also all committees are interested in improving processes, getting better at what they do, saving time. Okay, so you can dwell a little bit on how reuse actually saves staff time. Okay, and just as a reminder, how does reuse save staff time? Well, if you're reusing surplus assets, it means staff aren't doing new purchase orders, and doing a purchase order is often a laborious process. So you're saving staff time on purchase orders. Okay, so that's those three things: finance, environmental, and staff time savings. Okay, now get in touch with us if you want more detailed records of how reuse saves money. Now, this bit here, a little technique you can use just to tweak the way you're pitching the financial savings. If you say to your board, we can save you £20,000, the people in that board are going to be thinking, well, okay, you're going to save £20,000, but I've already got this contract running. It's going to be a massive hassle to save £20,000. It's probably not going to be £20,000. So they're going to be the cogs are going to be worrying about if that's really real. However, if you tweak that and flip the pitch to say, look, what could you do with £20,000 extra? It kind of just turns it on its head, and it's a much more positive way of pitching the savings that they're going to bring. Okay, so just a little top tip there. With the social savings, some committees will be concerned about this. So you can pass your surplus assets into the local community and add value in the local community and make good news stories around that and ensure civic leadership. So again, that will depend on what committee you're pitching to. If you're struggling, or if you feel that you're struggling to get this over, and the financial savings aren't working, and that evidential visual savings, visual impact pitches aren't working, you can start to talk to the committee around going for a trial. Okay, now what's the benefit of a trial? Well, it's low risk to the committee. It's a lower risk, and the committees don't want to say no to everything. So they want to give you a little bit. So it's much easier to say, okay, go on, I'll give you a trial. So go for the trial if you're struggling. And important to remember, if you're going to go for a trial, specify the size. So that might be one building, one part of the campus, one part of the estate, a certain amount of number of people or whatever. Specify the KPIs. So, you ask the board what the KPIs are going to be. And if you hit those KPIs, they're going to say yes in 6 months' time or 3 months' time or next year, So you get them to tell you how they're going to rate your program, okay? Specify a deadline. And then last but not least, make sure it works. It's got to work. You've got to hit those KPIs. Otherwise, the trial is going to be fruitless. Now, one thing to know about the trial is, yes, in 12 months' time, you're going to have to review it to see how it's gone. But if you haven't hit the KPIs, it's not the end of the world, because once you've started on something, people are much less likely to stop it once it's going, So if you miss your KPIs by 30%, it's like, look, we missed the KPIs by 30%, but this is what we're going to do to make sure we're going to hit them next year, So much easier to keep it going. So go for that trial. Another good way to go into this committee report or this committee pitch is to go forearmed with support from across your estate, because often there's a disconnect between the senior level and the operational level. And if you can get support from operational departments elsewhere for your reuse program, and if you go into the committee with this support and demonstrated support, they're much less likely to say no, because other departments have already expressed interest and support for this program. Okay, how do you get support from other departments? Right. Well, you look at your organisational strategy, and you look at the procurement strategy or the sustainability strategy or the estate strategy. And you can see when you start to read each of the department's strategies where those strategies overlap with your objectives, with your reuse objectives, okay? And then you start to build a rapport around those objectives. Now, I'll give you some examples. In the estate strategy, for example, there might be space efficiency targets, so reuse frees up space, okay, because it gets rid of all those old hoarded items, yeah? So that's where it overlaps with the estate strategy. You might look at the procurement strategy and see that they have a target for reduced procurement demand. That is, stopping the purchase of stuff that isn't needed. Well, reuse obviously overlaps great with that objective as well. So you've got to do a bit of research, look into the different departments' organisational strategies, yeah, their objectives, their aims, their vision, all that sort of thing, and look where it overlaps with reuse, okay? There's also a really good way of getting support from staff, and we hear this from our customers, whereby they've done staff surveys, and in those staff surveys, staff have actually said, we don't like seeing reusable assets in the skip or in the dumpster. That is a reputational damage. It tells us that there's a broken system. Yet, you ask us year on year for savings, so you can use a staff survey to get support for reuse or anything really, any broken system. And you present your pitch to the committee, you link in with a staff survey. Okay, good, easy win there. Obviously, as part of this pitch, you're going to be linking with case study. Again, this is about proving to the committee that this is a low risk, high value activity to undertake. Okay, so look for organisations just like yours, same size, same city scenario, city or rural, same estates, kind of like demographics, same sort of buildings, that sort of thing, and see what they've done on reuse. Even call them up, talk to them about it, what problems do they face, how would they get over them problems in the future, that sort of thing. And build a case study up around those organisations. Or you can look at directly competing organisations and say, look, they're doing it, why aren't we? And also another good place to look for case study is in the various awards, projects that go on within your sector. So there'll be somebody in your sector doing a reuse programme, being successful at it. Look at what they're doing, and you can also, you can look at the awards publicity when it goes out and link with that. Okay, so always link with case study. Again, it's all about reducing risk or reducing the perception of risk, and pitching that that high impact value of the reuse. wrapping up now. When you wrap up your pitch, you obviously need to tell them how you're going to get from A to B. Sorry, A to Z. But talk in terms that it's actually already happened. So you gotta understand what their end goal wants to be. Yeah. And talk in terms that it's already happened. So you can talk. You can say stuff like, well, imagine next year when our skip charges have gone down, staff won't see furniture in skips anymore. Staff won't see furniture stacked up on load and bays. We're going to be getting awards for our reuse program. We're going to have saved £200,000. I'm going to be pitching to you next year about getting new staff, getting a reuse program officer in to really maximise reuse. So paint the picture of success. Talk about it in terms that it's already happened, and that's how you're going to end your pitch. Don't say something like "let me know." You're going to be much more positive. You're going to be talking in terms of this has already happened. You've already achieved the savings. You've already diverted the waste. You can even talk about how staff are going to be much happier about getting second-hand items and not having to do purchase orders and things like that. Okay. So here's the overview. You're going to talk a few basics here: economic savings, environmental savings, time savings. Talk about the social benefits. Link in with staff surveys. Remember, if you're struggling, ask for a trial. You might know before the committee that you're going to have to ask for a trial or not. Of course, do your research. Get support from other departments first, and I've told you how you're going to do that. Play to the organisation's strengths. This is all about just going back into those case studies and seeing what others have done and building on that. And then, talk to them at the end about what happened next. So how do you get from A to Z, and talk about it in terms that you've already done it. So what now for you? Well, we've done a guide on this, which I'm going to show you now. And you can call me up and talk about that. And I want you to share your pitch with others. Let me know how it went, and we'll do a case study. So where can you download our guide? Well, you go to our site, click on blog, 10 ways to get senior commitment for your project. We've got a little bit of an article here, okay? And then you can download a guide here, okay? And that goes into a bit more detail about the techniques and the tools to use to make sure that you get support from your senior committees. Okay, thanks for your time. Goodbye.